Welcome to the HAVYN Hubcast, a place to learn what business leaders, owners, and professionals are doing to navigate and grow in today's market. Hear from industry experts on everything from marketing, leadership, financing, and more. Brought to you by HAVYN, a co-working space where you can connect, create, and get stuff done.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of the HAVYN Hubcast. I am Nancy Sheed, your host, and I am excited to be here with Deborah Burns. Welcome, Deborah.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here too. This is thrilling.
Deborah is the founder and chief prosperity officer. I can't wait to dive into that title of Literacy to Legacy Mentors, which is a personal finance education and mentoring company. Deborah is also the founder of Burns Communications, which we're going to let you sort of tell more about us. But Deborah, you have had this fantastic career coming from communications and sort of moving over into being the chief prosperity officer. But that's not necessarily a normal route for some people. So I always love to hear, and can I ask you to share with our listeners your sort of journey to get where you are today?
Absolutely, would be delighted to, and thank you for the opportunity. I did get my journalism degree, so communications has always been something I've been very interested in, and I worked for a very large publishing house for the first part of my career. And then I went into a secondary career path in the corporate world in a very major cosmetics company. And then thirdly, I went into the agency world. So it was a really cool opportunity to test run, if you will, every facet of communications to see which one stuck. And agency I loved the most because it was the most fun, honestly. And it was not only fun, but it was intriguing and interesting and fascinating because I was working on different business every day, every hour. It was lovely. It was wonderful. And I met so many cool and interesting people along the way, internationally and otherwise. And I worked for some very premium brand clients. So as the agency, my agency role rolled, if you will, I built it up to become a managing director of a PR division for a very major ad agency in New York. And so I had, climbed the ladder, so to speak, and broke the ceiling, did it all, and realized, boy, this is really fun. I'm really enjoying this. And it got me on the finance track. So I had to learn, how do I manage an agency? How do I build an agency in addition to just building the client base and making the clients happy and make sure they stay? So I did that for 14 years. And then the CFO of the agency in New York said to me, "We're so pleased with how you do this. Could you come and do it for me?" And I said, wow, that's an opportunity of a lifetime. So I had just had my daughter, and I wanted to have very specific parameters as to how my next career path went, because I have a daughter now. And I gave him the parameters, and he met every one of them and then some. So the good news is I started a PR division for a small ad agency in Stamford, Connecticut. And I built that also to 7 figures over a 5-year period. And again, communications, finance are running parallel tracks. And it was fun, fabulous, and just a great experience overall. And it just showed me that I had the chops to do this. So then once I built that to 1.25 with the help of a lot of my friends and my wonderful clients, I started my own firm called Burns Communications about 15 years ago this year. And I realized that because I had the acumen to not only have the communications background, but also the financial background, I was able to really build out a very formidable agency of my own, which was very exciting, and continue to build that to this day. Now, here's where the paths divide, if you will. I had been doing a side hustle of consulting to families, individuals, and retirees about their finances. Because I have an acumen, but because I have a passion for it, I've been a private investor since I was 18. So my mother gave me stock in Citicorp when I graduated from high school, smart woman.
What a gift.
I know. And I took that and ran with it. And she said, learn everything you possibly can about this industry. So people knew that I was passionate about it, but I never made it into a career because I was so busy working in communications, marketing, and branding. Then I was talking to one of my Wall Street friends, and he said, Deb, you really should be starting this company. Give me a top line, 30-second view. What do you want to do here? And it came out like it was exactly supposed to be. I gave him the name of the company, the tagline, everything, like my vision. And he said, if you don't trademark that, I will. So the good news is I did. And it became Literacy to Legacy Mentors, Reframing Your Financial Future. So I continued to not only build my communications consulting practice and branding practice, but because I love finance and I love helping people, more importantly, and really, excuse the expression, but turning the lights on and making people really like, wow. I love to make people feel wow and empowered about their lives. That when I started this company in April during Financial Literacy Month of 2021, things really began to roll from there. So I was focusing mostly on building that company, and my consultancy was really sort of the parallel track here, but it was not something I was formally focusing on at the time. So I created a financial freedom education series. I have guests from all over the industry. I have strategic partners in my company from trust and estate law, accounting, insurance, and college financial aid. Those partners in turn provide expertise that I do not have, of course. So we all collectively, it's like the president and his cabinet or her cabinet. And we all help the client to understand every facet of their finances. In other words, I'll take them so far and then I'll hand them to my strategic partners. That's how it works. So not only did I build the Financial Freedom Education series, which has gotten really some great feedback. It's on YouTube, Literacy to Legacy Mentors. I have about 35 shows up there. I also created an entrepreneur spotlight because I believe it's important as an entrepreneur, primarily, that I want to make sure to focus and showcase people who are successful and they are grassroots and they've done it all the right ways and they're still in business and they're profitable. That needs to be celebrated. So I featured a couple of CEOs every quarter. So every quarter, I feature one CEO and I showcased their company and how they got from where they started to where they are today. It was really, really well received as well.
I love that. It's a little mini version of how I built this, right? Like a mini version.
Exactly. And then as I go, because I'm a brand expert, ideas come to me in most unusual ways. It just came to me and I thought, now in this environment, not only do people need savvy and sharp and quick feedback on exactly how to manage their money. I don't manage money, but in terms of what they should invest in or how they should invest, how they should save, what is their earning capacity, what are their retirement plans, every aspect of personal finance. I actually decided to create something that would really be attractive and palatable to people of college age, mid-career, and retirees. And it's called the Money Mastery Minute. Every Monday, I release a Monday Mastery Minute on any topic under the sun that happens to be particularly relevant in this economic environment. And people love it because I'm speaking to their ability to really understand very complex financial topics in a nutshell.
I love that. And exactly. And it's digestible and it's not overwhelming and they can get in and get out and think about it and how it would affect their lives and everything else. That's wonderful.
Thank you. So I'm doing that. That's also on YouTube. They're called YouTube Shorts. And then secondly, I just released something that I feel is also just, again, to meet the clients where they are. Because money in this environment, no matter if you have a lot of it or none of it, people are being more discretionary than usual. So I released a financial freedom accelerator so that people can come to me with any kind of financial decision that may be sticky or difficult or challenging or on deadline. And they can talk to me for 30 minutes and it's half of the price that I typically charge because it's obviously half an hour.
Got it. we'll include those in the show, those sort of opportunities or where they can find out more about that in the show notes.
Yes, yes. Just trying to meet the clients where they are. And I also work with clients on building out their entire personal finance life. So for instance, if you're a college student, I can help you all the way to retirement. Or if you're mid-career, I can help you to retirement. Or if you're in your retirement, I can help you through that process. And again, with all of my respective colleagues, partners, and experts, we are able to really provide a circuitous, end-to-end solution here to our clients, which is phenomenal.
I want to dive, it's sort of typically when you hear journalism, communications, and then you hear finance, right? Like the brain automatically or traditionally goes to, oh, they must be doing investor relations. That's the only thing that people that can talk finance and communications can possibly do, right? And so I love that you've totally flipped this narrative on its head and gone a completely different route that it makes sense to you. But I think for a lot of people, it feels like you've got both sides of your brain going and that sometimes the crossover wouldn't be the same, right? Like somebody who's fantastic about seeing a vision for somebody's financial future might not be the best person in the world who thinks with the communications brain and, or even, as you said, the branding brain in terms of how to explain it in a way that customers or clients can access that. So what would you say? You alluded to the branding, but what do you think that you brought from your journalism career and your corporate career and the agency career to where you are now? And also, I'm just curious, how does your work with the financial literacy and that impact what you're doing, maybe if you're still working in communications? Where do you see those crossovers?
Yes, exactly. Excellent point and excellent question. So first and foremost, I actually am approaching finance from a heart-centered standpoint. And yes, I am very right and left brain, but I think that people find it very refreshing because I'm coming at it from a behavioral finance perspective. So I need to be able, from a communication standpoint, to not only articulate the behavioral finance concepts that really lead to why people earn, spend, save, and invest the way they do, because it has everything to do with how they were raised, the environment, the schooling, how they live today. So I think it's important to know that when you're dealing with finance, you must be extremely direct and very concise and just obviously very to the point. So I'm not terribly superfluous. I am all of those things. And I have the experience of working directly with CEOs, very major CEOs of corporate Fortune 100, 500, 1,000 companies directly for decades. So they typically demand that you be extremely on point and very strategic. So I think those things that I learned as an agency director as well as owner is I'm able to translate very complex financial topics into very simple, palatable hors d'oeuvres, to be very clear. And that way, people understand not only what I'm offering them, but they understand it on layman's terms, and they understand that they can incorporate it into their lives more easily. My journalism career helps me also to create a brand message and communications around the finances that people likely have not really heard before. I'm very non-traditional in my approach to finance. I think it's very refreshing, and I do it because it's resonating with so many people, because finance, in the end of the day, is emotional, no matter if you believe it or not.
Well, the being concise and being strategic makes such sense. I'm going to also say, though, I suspect that your journalism and communications experience makes you a really good listener and question asker, right? So that you have gone in and you've asked those questions and you've listened, and maybe you've heard things that aren't actually being said, but are being said by what's not being said, to help you come up with that concise information or the strategy or whatever. That's also sometimes a gift, right? Like a lot of us think, I'm going to go get finance advice. it's cookie cutter. People say you do this, 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 and this. And what I'm hearing from you is, oh no, this is that. This is much different than what you would expect to find when you're finding a partner to come along your financial journey with you.
Exactly right. And thank you for that, because that is what I'm offering. And I'm delighted to have the opportunity to offer something very different in the marketplace, because, financial literacy is not something that's offered in schools or high schools or colleges unless you're a finance major. And people don't have the advantage that most people do who have a finance background in life. And I want to give them the opportunity to actually have an advantage and an edge and a leg up that they wouldn't have previously. So yes, to your point, I do want to be strategic and to the point, et cetera, but I do need to weave in that sort of 50,000 foot view and the why. So in other words, why are you spending the way you do? Why are you not saving as much? Why are you investing in this and not making enough return on investment? I'm all about the why, and not that people in the industry don't care about that. Of course they do. But that is the foundation of my business. I have to get to the why, because I believe together as a partner, it's my job and my responsibility to help them get to the why and change and reframe their behaviors, their perceptions, their habits, their patterns around how they handle money. And people have not really been working in this capacity, in this vein, as much, if not at all, in this financial literacy industry.
That's a great segue. You just mentioned the word partner, right? So again, traditionally people think, oh, I'm going to talk to my advisor. And there seems to be this kind of hierarchy, right? Like the advisor is the very smart person. I'm the person who's coming in that needs to be told what to do. And I know it's very important for you to be considered a partner alongside of your clients. Or I know you also like to talk about the partnership being an accountability partnership. So can you talk a little bit more about like why that's important and or how that fits into your different model in terms of working with your clients?
Absolutely. So the origin of my accountability experience specifically is that I was part of a mastermind with 5 other women entrepreneurs. We met each month for a period of 3 years.
Wow.
And at the end of, I know, it was phenomenal. And at the end of that, here's the good news and the success story. Each of us started our own companies. So that said, because of that accountability experience, about 10 years ago, I actually got an accountability partner. What that means is I meet with her every Friday, and it's timed because mastermind context is always timed and very precise. And she talks about her goals, and I listen and give feedback. I talk about my goals, I listen and feedback. The point is that we keep each other accountable, as I do with my own clients. In other words, if people really want change, they have to be accountable for it. It's really that simple. But at the same time, I come to it with a compassionate edge and understanding, because I've been where they are. Okay? I have had my own experience with different earning challenges in a male-dominated environment, which I was the only woman out of 7 men for forever. And I made it into senior ranks. I understand it from a spending standpoint. People sometimes emotionally spend. I think we've heard about that, retail therapy.
Right.
Debting, this world is in such a mess with debting. So I just look at all those aspects of finance and people understand and they feel a comfort level because I've been there. I understand what you're going through and I can help you transcend and transform it. And that's the beauty of all of this, because not a lot of people are actually focusing, if any, for that matter, on the emotional, spiritual aspect of finance and behavioral finance.
And I think, again, that's just very different as opposed to that concept where we walk in and we get advice and we're told, and then we're sometimes confused because we've been told about this and that, and it's not presented in a way, it's kind of like, this is the stage, this is what you should be doing, as opposed to letting where somebody is lead the conversation and lead the direction of what's next. And I was about to say problem solving, but it's not even problem solving as much as in, creating the journey, and I just love
Yes.
this image of you helping people create a journey wherever they are. You've alluded to, starting out, mid-career, retirement, right? But it's not cookie cutter. Where are you in this journey? Not where should you be, or where do you,
Right.
where do others think you should be? Let's talk about where you want to go, and then we'll worry about
Well, that's exactly right.
the plan. Earlier in the conversation, and I know you feel very strongly about this, that you have your lane and you have your expertise, which is actually quite broad between journalism, communications,
Yes, it
branding,
is.
and finance, but that you also know that there are the experts in, especially when it comes to finances, when it comes to planning, when it comes to legal, when it comes to estate. You alluded to them as being, kind of strategic partners, which I think, again, just keeps building this partnership conversation. How do you build your own and then how do you bring them in? Because that's a big trust factor that has to go on. Do you know what I mean? Like, you either have to have worked with them or I love referring people, but I know it's also when I do that, it's my reputation that's on the line as well. So what does that look like to you?
Couldn't agree with that more. And I even say that to my own clients, be very, very careful with who you partner with because they are your brand ambassador.
Right.
So the experts I partner with have to meet certain criteria. I'm very particular. I've had very, very prestigious clients in my career. So I also make sure that my partners are prestigious, esteemed, veteran, well-known in their industries, and really know their stuff. I also have worked with them and I know them personally. So that's the reason I chose them.
Mm.
And that's really helpful. And again, I have a handful. I rather do a few things really well than try to approach it a little bit too broadly. And I don't really know these people and I don't feel confident referring them. In the process, and I've been through this a couple of different experiences with clients, let's say, for instance, one had an estate situation in the state of New York, and I could take her as far as the legal piece because I have been a power of attorney and an executor of 3 large family estates. So I served as the paralegal, if you will, not the formal paralegal, but I did a lot of the work so that they could just go to court. Not that that they obviously have a tremendous role to play, but I took this client that far, and then we brought in the expert in New York and we had a conference call, and it's an implicit trust because they know how, very demanding and very particular I am. Right. So they are assured that I actually have the best of the best on the team.
I love that. And again, I think, as you just said, you don't pretend to do everything, but that you actually give people, and again, the trust. So somebody doesn't then have to go find this person to be on their team to get to where they need to go. They have you alongside to say, all right, here's the team we're going to put together. We're going to make it easier. And we've worked together before, so we actually know what this looks like.
And I think that's a very important point, Nancy, because I also have been counsel to very large estate individuals who have actually brought me into the investment management legal scenario that they have. And I've had the seat at the table with their people. So it's hybrid. I'm very open to doing both. Just knowing that, again, I don't offer financial advice. I'm not FINRA, or anything formal along those lines, but I've worked with 2 of the most prestigious wealth management firms in the world. And I worked with 2 CEOs for a period of almost 15 years directly. So I know enough, and then I hand it off to the experts who are credentialed legally, financially, and otherwise. And that only makes sound and sensible sense, right?
I love that. Can you paint the scenario of, because you have talked about the different stages in life, but paint the scenario or where an ideal situation where somebody is coming to you, because it sounds like there's several different points and timeframes, but who does it make the most sense for, or given what's going on in our world right now, where are you seeing the most impact? Maybe that's a better way to ask it. Where are you seeing the most impact where you can help people? Yes.
I think the entrepreneur is where I play best because I am one and I have been one for quite some time. I understand the entrepreneurial mindset and I can take clients through a one-off, again, as I mentioned to you, if it's an immediate need and they really need to solve a problem. Then I can do a series with them in terms of let's cross this bridge. We'll focus on this topic. We'll solve that. It's really, as you talked about before, it's a problem-solving, solution-oriented offer. And then my ideal client, which I'm actually working with right now, she's retained me for 6 months. And I'm taking her through every single facet of her finances, from earning to saving to spending to investing. And I meet with her 2 hours a week for the next 6 months. And it's very prescriptive. I have systems in my business, so I write all these reports up, and the conversations are very direct and very specific, and they have homework to do. So that's the ideal scenario. I'm looking to work with more retainer-based clients because it all works together. Not one is standalone, because the behavior, the attitudes, the habits play into every single aspect of your financial life.
Absolutely.
So if you want to change that, you have to affect change over time. A habit takes 21 days to break, but I believe it takes more time because we're getting into some pretty emotionally charged topics. I'm a safe haven, no pun intended.
What a great segue. What a great segue. Well, I was about to say, and speaking of entrepreneurial journeys,
Yeah.
so you beat me to it. Let's tie it to HAVYN. If you share with us, you and I are here chatting because of HAVYN and the community that it brings together. Curious how you found HAVYN. How did HAVYN find you? You know, I always like to say it's a give and take, and then there's HAVYN magic that happens in the give and take. What's been your experience, or how can you share with us your HAVYN journey?
Love it. Absolutely. I'm very much a HAVYN raving fan. And the reason being that I have typically worked remotely at my home office for 15 years.
So basically, you're a raving HAVYN fan, right?
Yes.
Talk to us a little bit about, what that means, both on the give and take side.
Absolutely. So as I mentioned, I actually love all of their events. I'm very judicious, of course, because I can't attend them all, but I try to attend the ones that make the most sense in terms of, meeting and greeting different types of people, supporting HAVYN in its mission and vision, and also meeting a lot of very different types of entrepreneurs. And having been an entrepreneur now for 16 years almost, I understand the mindset. I understand how people think, as opposed to executives. I've worked with them as well, but I really have a handle on how entrepreneurs do business. And I want to not only be able to help them with their financial lives personally, but as you well know, it lends itself to, so how's your company doing? How profitable are you? Could you be more profitable? Could you be more visible? So Nancy, that's when the whole dovetail happens with the branding and the journalism and the communications and the finance. So it's really a nice combination of offers here, if you will, of what I can offer to HAVYN. And then what I can give to HAVYN in terms of giving back. I am working with them right now in putting together a pretty sexy offer for the new year that has to do with how I can then offer my services to entrepreneurs in a different type of format at HAVYN. So I can't reveal any more than that, but that's exciting. And I also am going to be doing a really interesting HAVYN halftime and a number of other complementary events that gives back to the community and showcases how I can be helpful to them and help them grow their personal and their business finances and become more financially savvy. And as I like to say, think more abundantly and live more prosperously. And
I can't imagine a better ending from the Chief Prosperity Officer to be thinking about living prosperously. Deborah, I've just enjoyed hearing about your journey and how you're helping people and how you're doing it in a very different and dynamic way. You've mentioned some of the sort of the ways and avenues people can find you. What's the best way to connect? We'll certainly put the YouTube channel on there, but what's the most direct way for people to reach out to you?
Yes, they can actually look on my website, which is literacytolegacymentors.net. I also have a pretty powerful Instagram channel called Deborah Prosperity Mentor 1. And that's where I do a lot of my Money Mastery Minute, connections and showcases and other things that I may be offering them that has, a value add. I don't go on there every day, but I'm on there often enough. So Instagram, my website, my YouTube, I'm on other social channels, but those are the most robust.
Perfect. We will include those in the show notes. And thank you again for your time and insight and educating us on sort of ways to think about our path to prosperity differently.
Thank you so much. I'm really excited to have the opportunity. And thank you, HAVYN. Woohoo!
Exactly. And that ends another episode of the HAVYN Hubcast. Give us a like, share the HAVYN Hubcast with those who might not have heard it yet. And we always love reviews. Until next time.
Thanks for listening to the HAVYN Hubcast, a place to learn what business leaders and owners are doing to navigate and grow in today's market. Please leave a review on Apple Podcasts and subscribe on your favorite podcast app. HAVYN is a co-working space and virtual community located in the heart of Fairfield County, Connecticut. HAVYN is a hub for business owners and professionals to connect, create, and get stuff done. Find out more about the HAVYN community online at havyn.com. That's HAYVN.com. HAVYN Hubcast is produced by Sound Advice Strategies.